Your morning coffee might be the single most powerful thing you are doing for your brain every day. And most people have no idea. A major long-term study just confirmed that drinking 2 to 3 cups of coffee daily is linked to a dramatically lower risk of dementia, especially in adults under 75. Not tea, not a supplement, not a prescription. The drink sitting in your kitchen right now. The one you have been drinking your whole life. But here is the loop I am opening right now and will not close until we are deep into this video. Because not all coffee protects your brain. There is a specific way to drink it, a specific time to drink it, and one common addition millions of seniors put in their cup every morning that researchers believe may be canceling out the protective benefit entirely. I am going to tell you exactly what it is, but not yet. By the end of this video, you are going to understand exactly why coffee protects the aging brain at a cellular level. You are going to learn how to drink it in a way that maximizes every benefit the research identifies. And you are going to know the one mistake to stop making immediately. Whether you have been drinking coffee your whole life or you stopped because someone told you it was bad for you, this video has something new for you. Stay with me. I want to tell you about a patient I will call Edmund. He was 72, retired engineer, sharp as a tack in conversation, but increasingly worried about what he was starting to notice in himself. Words that used to come easily were taking longer. He would walk into a room and forget why. He would lose the thread of a conversation and feel a quiet panic that he did not share with his family. He came to me not with dramatic symptoms. He came with a fear. He said, "Doctor, my father had dementia. My uncle had it. I feel like I am watching myself from the outside, and I do not like what I am seeing. What can I do? Is there anything I can actually do?" I gave Edmund a thorough cognitive assessment. Nothing alarming. Normal age-related changes, not pathological decline. But his fear was real, and it was worth taking seriously. Because the most powerful thing you can do for dementia prevention is act before there is anything to treat. I sent Edmund home with a list of evidence-based lifestyle recommendations. Exercise, sleep, social connection, reduced ultra-processed food. And I mentioned, almost as an aside, that the research on coffee and brain health was genuinely compelling, and that if he enjoyed it, there was no reason to stop. He looked up at me and said, "I gave up coffee 3 years ago because my last doctor said it was raising my blood pressure." I told him we needed to revisit that. Because the relationship between coffee and health is one of the most misunderstood areas in all of nutritional medicine. And what the latest research reveals is something that every senior who has ever been told to give it up deserves to hear. 3 months later, Edmund came back. He had returned to his 2 cups in the morning. He was sleeping better than he had in years. His energy was steadier. And the word-finding pauses he had described to me, he said they felt less frequent, less frightening. I am going to tell you exactly what was happening in his brain. And at the end of this video, I am going to close the loop on what changed everything for Edmund. Because it was not just the coffee. So let us build the foundation. Let us talk about what dementia actually is and why coffee interacts with it the way it does. Because the mechanism here is genuinely fascinating, and once you understand it, you will never look at your morning cup the same way again. Dementia is not a single disease. It is an umbrella term for a group of conditions characterized by the progressive decline of cognitive function, memory, language, reasoning, and the ability to manage daily life independently. Alzheimer's disease accounts for the majority of cases. Vascular dementia, caused by reduced blood flow to the brain, accounts for most of the rest. Both share a common upstream driver, neuroinflammation, chronic, low-grade inflammation in the brain itself that damages neurons, disrupts communication between brain cells, and accelerates the accumulation of the toxic proteins, amyloid plaques, and tau tangles that pathologically define Alzheimer's disease. Here is the counterintuitive truth that the coffee research reveals. Caffeine is not the only thing in coffee that protects the brain. It might not even be the most important thing. Coffee contains over 1,000 distinct chemical compounds. Among the most studied are chlorogenic acids, a class of polyphenols with powerful antioxidant and anti-inflammatory properties. These compounds cross the blood-brain barrier. They directly suppress neuroinflammation. They reduce oxidative stress in brain tissue. They inhibit the accumulation of amyloid beta, the protein fragment that clumps into the plaques associated with Alzheimer's disease. Caffeine itself contributes a separate and complementary protective mechanism. It blocks adenosine receptors in the brain. Adenosine is a compound that accumulates during waking hours and promotes sleepiness. But in the context of aging, elevated adenosine activity is also associated with increased neuroinflammation. By blocking those receptors, caffeine keeps certain inflammatory pathways quieter. The study that broke this news, a huge long-term research project tracking thousands of adults over many years, found that those who drank 2 to 3 cups of coffee daily had a significantly lower risk of developing dementia compared to those who drank little or none. The effect was most pronounced in adults under 75, and the researchers pointed to both the caffeine and the polyphenol content as synergistically responsible. 2 to 3 cups daily, starting now. Before we get into exactly how to drink it for maximum benefit, I want to ask you a question. And I genuinely want your answer in the comments because it shapes what I create for this community. Which one of these describes you? Are you someone who still drinks coffee regularly and had no idea it might be protecting your brain? Or are you someone who gave it up or reduced it significantly because of health advice you received at some point? Option A, still drinking it. Option B, gave it up. Tell me below, because the answer to that question matters for what I cover next. Now, how to drink coffee so that it genuinely protects your brain. 4 principles from the research. Principle 1. The amount matters. 2 to 3 cups is the sweet spot. This is the finding that came through most consistently across the studies. Not 1 cup, not 5 cups. 2 to 3 cups daily was associated with the strongest protective effect on dementia risk and cognitive function in older adults. Below 2 cups, the polyphenol and caffeine dose appears insufficient to produce the full neurological benefit. Above 4 cups, the research begins to show diminishing returns, and in some individuals, particularly those with certain heart conditions or sensitivity to caffeine, increased cardiovascular stress. For beginners, 2 cups is your daily minimum target, 1 in the morning, 1 in the late morning or early afternoon. That is the baseline the research supports. For advanced practitioners, the specific type of coffee matters. Filtered coffee, whether pour-over, drip, or French press with a paper filter, removes a compound called caffeistol that is found in unfiltered coffee and that can raise LDL cholesterol in some individuals. For seniors managing cardiovascular risk, filtered coffee is the recommended preparation method. The protective brain benefits are fully preserved. The cardiovascular risk is minimized. Real outcome. Regular filtered coffee drinkers in the research showed measurably lower levels of amyloid beta in their blood, one of the earliest detectable markers of Alzheimer's risk, compared to non-drinkers. That is not a subjective quality of life improvement. That is a biological marker moving in the right direction. Principle 2. Timing your coffee for maximum brain benefit. Here is something most people have never considered. When you drink, your coffee is almost as important as how much you drink. And for seniors specifically, the timing has implications that go beyond brain health into sleep quality, which directly affects dementia risk through its own separate mechanism. The research on caffeine and sleep architecture in older adults is clear on one point. Caffeine consumed after 2 in the afternoon significantly disrupts deep sleep in most adults over 60, not because you cannot fall asleep, but because caffeine reduces the proportion of slow-wave deep sleep, the phase where the brain's glymphatic system activates and physically clears amyloid beta and other toxic proteins from brain tissue. In other words, late afternoon or evening coffee blocks the brain's own nightly cleaning system. The system that is specifically designed to remove the proteins associated with Alzheimer's disease. Every night, while you sleep. For beginners, a simple rule: no coffee after 2 in the afternoon. Move your second cup earlier if needed, morning and mid-morning. That window captures the full cognitive benefit of caffeine and polyphenols while protecting the deep sleep your brain needs to clean itself at night. For advanced practitioners, the research suggests that drinking coffee within 1 to 2 hours of waking, after your body's natural cortisol peak has already occurred, optimizes the alertness benefit without interfering with the body's cortisol regulation cycle. Between 90 minutes and 2 hours after waking is the physiologically ideal window for your first cup. Real outcome. Participants who timed their coffee consumption correctly showed not only the expected reduction in dementia risk markers, but also improvements in sleep quality scores, because protecting deep sleep compounds the brain protective effect of the coffee itself. The two mechanisms work together. We are at the midpoint of this video, and I want to remind you of the loop we opened at the beginning. The one common addition that millions of seniors put in their coffee every single morning that may be canceling out the protective benefit. I am coming to it in just a few minutes. And when I tell you what it is going to make complete sense in the context of everything else we have covered. But first, Principle 3. something I want to tell you about for this community that connects everything we have been building together over these last few weeks. Keep an eye on the channel because what is coming will give you a complete daily system built around the science we keep returning to. Make sure you are subscribed so you do not miss it when it drops. Principle 3. What you put in your coffee determines whether it protects your brain or quietly works against it. This is the principle that ties directly back to the loop we opened at the start. And here is the research. Coffee consumed black or with a small amount of plain dairy milk retains its full neuroprotective profile. The polyphenols are bioavailable. The caffeine works as described. The brain benefit is intact. Coffee consumed with significant amounts of added sugar, even what most people would consider a moderate amount, a teaspoon or two, produces a combined metabolic effect that researchers believe partially offsets the anti-inflammatory benefit of the coffee's polyphenols. Because sugar is inherently pro-inflammatory, and when you consume an anti-inflammatory compound and a pro-inflammatory compound simultaneously, the net effect is diminished. But the most significant finding, and this is what surprised me when I first read it, was around artificial sweeteners. Multiple studies in the last 3 years have found that certain artificial sweeteners, particularly sucralose and aspartame, alter the gut microbiome in ways that increase systemic inflammation and interfere with the blood-brain barrier's integrity over time. For seniors who switched from sugar to artificial sweeteners believing they were making the healthier choice, the research suggests the trade may not have been as beneficial as they believed. The safest additions to coffee based on current evidence: a small amount of full-fat dairy milk or an unsweetened plant-based alternative. A small amount of cinnamon, which has its own anti-inflammatory and blood sugar stabilizing properties. And if you need sweetness, a very small amount of raw honey, which contains its own polyphenol compounds. For beginners, the single most impactful change is simply this: cut the sugar in your coffee by half this week, then by half again the following week. Most people find that within 2 to 3 weeks their taste adapts completely and they no longer miss it. For advanced practitioners, consider switching to a light or medium roast. Lighter roasts retain significantly higher concentrations of chlorogenic acids, the primary neuroprotective polyphenols, than dark roasts, where the roasting process degrades a proportion of these compounds. If brain protection is the goal, lighter is better. Real outcome. Participants who consumed unsweetened or lightly sweetened coffee showed consistently stronger associations with reduced dementia risk than those who consumed heavily sweetened versions. The delivery mechanism matters as much as the compound being delivered. Principle 4. Pair your coffee with the foods that amplify its brain protective effect. The research on nutrient synergy, how different compounds interact when consumed together, is one of the most exciting areas of nutritional science. And coffee is a remarkable example of how context amplifies benefit. The chlorogenic acids in coffee are fat-soluble. Their bioavailability, how much the body can actually absorb and use, increases when consumed alongside a small amount of healthy fat. A piece of whole grain toast with avocado, 2 eggs cooked in olive oil, a small handful of walnuts. These foods create the ideal digestive environment for coffee's polyphenols to be absorbed at their maximum concentration. Conversely, coffee consumed on a completely empty stomach in the first moments after waking, before any food, can elevate cortisol further and in some older adults create a degree of gastric irritation that reduces absorption efficiency, not dramatically, but meaningfully enough to be worth addressing. For beginners, a simple habit: eat something small before or alongside your first cup. It does not need to be a full meal. A small handful of nuts or a piece of fruit is enough to shift the absorption environment. For advanced practitioners, the combination of coffee with blueberries at breakfast creates one of the highest documented combined polyphenol doses available from whole food sources. Both the coffee polyphenols and the berry anthocyanins cross the blood-brain barrier. Both suppress neuroinflammation. Both inhibit amyloid accumulation. Together, their anti-neuroinflammatory effect is greater than either produces alone. Real outcome. The seniors in the studies who showed the most significant reductions in cognitive decline markers were not just drinking coffee. They were eating in a way that amplified what the coffee was doing. The brain benefit was compounding, not additive. Now, the revelation. The loop we opened at the beginning of this video. The one common addition that may be canceling out the protective benefit of your morning coffee. I told you it was going to surprise you. And here it is. It is flavored creamers, not plain milk, not cream. Flavored creamers. The hazelnut, the vanilla, the caramel, the seasonal varieties that line the supermarket refrigerator shelves and that have become a morning ritual for millions of seniors who use them as a more enjoyable alternative to black coffee. A single serving of a popular flavored creamer, the amount most people actually use, which research shows is typically 2 to 3 servings worth rather than 1, contains between 4 and 8 grams of added sugar, partially hydrogenated oils in some varieties, artificial flavorings, emulsifiers, and in many cases, carrageenan, a food additive derived from seaweed that multiple peer-reviewed studies have linked to gut inflammation and intestinal permeability in older adults. The combination of added sugar, trans fats, emulsifiers, and gut-disrupting additives creates a pro-inflammatory load that the research suggests is sufficient to significantly blunt the neuroprotective effect of the coffee itself. You are drinking a brain-protecting compound wrapped in a brain-inflaming one, and the net result is that you lose much of the benefit the study showed was achievable. This is not about deprivation. This is about information. Because if you knew this 3 years ago, you would have made a different choice. And the good news is that making the different choice now is as simple as replacing one product on your shopping list. Now let me come back to Edmund. When he returned 3 months after reintroducing coffee, I asked him one question before he told me how he felt. I asked him how he was drinking it. He said black with a small spoon of honey and sometimes with my breakfast eggs. He had never used flavored creamers. He had drunk it simply his whole life. And when he gave it up on his previous doctor's advice, he lost not just the caffeine, but the daily chlorogenic acid load, the adenosine blockade, and the consistent polyphenol delivery that had likely been providing meaningful neurological protection for decades. Returning to 2 cups in the morning, timed correctly, taken simply, alongside the dietary changes he was already making, Edmund's cognition stabilized. His word-finding pauses reduced. His energy steadied. His fear quieted. He came back not with dramatic news. He came back with something quieter and more valuable. He came back with confidence. He said, "I feel like my brain is working with me again instead of against me." That is what this science makes possible, not miracles. Confidence, the feeling of doing something real every morning that the evidence supports. Here are the 3 things I want you to carry from this video. 2 to 3 cups of filtered coffee daily, consumed before 2 in the afternoon, is associated with a significantly lower risk of dementia in adults over 65. This is not fringe research. It is a large, long-term, peer-reviewed finding that belongs in every conversation about senior brain health. What you put in your coffee determines whether it delivers its full benefit or partially cancels it. Skip the flavored creamers. Reduce the sugar. Drink it simply and let it do what the research shows it can do. And time it correctly. Morning and mid-morning. Nothing after 2 in the afternoon. Protect your deep sleep and you protect the brain's own nightly cleaning system at the same time. The people who follow this channel take their health seriously. They are the ones in their family and their community who seek out information, act on it, and share it with the people they love. If that is you, and you would not have watched this far if it were not, then subscribe and stay connected. Because what I am building for this community over the coming weeks is a complete, practical, doctor-designed system for aging with a sharp mind and a strong body. Next week, I am covering something that connects directly to everything we discussed today. The specific sleep protocol that maximizes your brain's overnight cleaning process, the glymphatic system we touched on today, and how to structure your evenings so that your brain repairs itself as efficiently as possible while you sleep. The research on this is extraordinary, and almost no one outside of neuroscience circles knows it yet. And the week after that, I am covering the truth about the 5 brain supplements being most aggressively marketed to seniors right now. Which ones have genuine clinical evidence? Which ones are expensive placebo? And the one result that genuinely surprised me when I reviewed the data carefully. Subscribe so you are here for both of those. Take care of yourself. Take care of the people you love. And I will see you in the next one.